Now we're back with the Trailblazers opening up about an incredible journey. Caroline Wanga is president and CEO of Essence Ventures, preserving the legacy of Essence magazine. It's a 55-year-old publication, and it's the subject of the 2023 documentary series, Time of Essence.
She also leads the annual Essence Festival of Culture in New Orleans. Now Caroline is sharing the lessons she's learned in her new memoir, I'm highly % sure.
Yes, by the way, Essence Festival, that's a time. That is time.
It is.
I have no idea. What happens at Fight Club?
In the memoir, she opens up about immigrating to America from Kenya when she was 10, and also how she climbed the corporate ladder in this country. Welcome, Caroline Wanga.
Thank you for having me. It's so good to see y'all this morning.
Yeah.
Why write the book now? What was the impetus?
Well, the predecessor was I'm not writing a book.
Okay.
I had been asked for a long time about writing a book. I had no interest in it because I didn't believe that I could do what my mission was on authenticity and still work through a book translating it in the way that I offer it live. But what really happened is, as I continue to have a passion around helping people find their purpose, the opportunity to tell my story in a book so all the Carolines watching know that they can do it was aided by the book, because now it can get to scale faster than I can get to everything. And so it actually was about managing the selfishness of me wanting to be the only way that my purpose was delivered, but put on paper so more people can enjoy what it means to find purpose early in life. And then I still did an Audible so I could win on having my voice on the book.
Be eligible for a Grammy, so we like that.
Did y'all hear?
Just saying.
I'm just saying.
Just saying.
Hypothetical.
So your family moves here, emigrates here from Kenya when you're 10 to Minnesota. So what was that like? I mean, so at an early age, you had to manifest your authenticity at 10 years old.
That's a beautiful, enlightened statement. That's not what happened at 10 years old.
Okay.
And, you know, this is part of my passion. Tell the story how it happened. Here's what happened at 10 years old. I'm 5'8" at the age of 10.
Wow.
I have an adult woman-sized shoe, which they don't make cute versions for 10-year-olds. And in addition to that, I have a very deep voice as a girl. I have an accent. I didn't quite know what the right hairstyle was in Minnesota from Kenya. Everything about my aesthetic in the middle of Roseville, Minnesota became a threat.
Oh.
And junior high is the gauntlet of life anyway, so they just added their little spice. And at the end of the day, what ended up happening that took the journey to here is I made myself small because it brought pain. And I didn't reconnect with myself till almost 2 decades later.
And then at 17, you learn you're going to be pregnant, and you write this in the memoir. Everything became about proving everyone wrong. I was determined to be a great mom, finish college, and be what I knew I could be. I wasn't going to give anyone permission to renegotiate my potential. How did you get to the point at 17 to have that type of confidence?
Here's what I would continue to offer. That is not what I said at 17. That's what my reflection, having done my inner work, is here. At that 17-year-old, here's what I felt, as developed as 17-year-olds are, right? What I felt is my parents came here to give me opportunity. They both have their PhDs, and now I got to drop out of college. I found out that at 17 years old, I was going to Harvard tomorrow. Today, people want me to go to community college because all of a sudden, as a mom, I'm not as smart or as talented as I was before. And then the third piece was people started to interact with me differently. And I was like, it's just a baby. And everybody was like, and your life. And so I always say people try to negotiate my potential without my permission. So defiance is what motivated me through that period. What you're reading is telling the story of how it happened, but now telling the story of what I know about it as I've done my inner work is what you read. At 17, I was like, I'm not going to be nobody's statistic. I'm not going to fail. That's all that I knew.
And I'd say you won.
Yep.
While I have you here, Caroline, let me ask you about Target. You were there at Target for, if I'm not mistaken, about 15 years.
Right on.
At one point, you're the Chief Diversity Officer. Target has become one of several companies in this country that's decided to roll back DEI initiatives. What are your thoughts on that?
So this is going to feel funny because it's going to sound like a book plug, but it actually is the answer, which is there's a chapter in the book called This Ain't Scrabble. And that chapter is tied to my perspective as a DEI practitioner. Yes, I did some work at Target, but it became an extension of who I was. And the point that I made there was two. The first one was, it doesn't matter what order you put the letters in, ID, D&I, VIP, whatever, the work is the work, number one. Do the work, leave the letters. Number two, if you do this thing right, you create a way that gives goals that can be measured to incent people into the behavior. Eventually, the goal goes away because the behavior is embedded and you pick the next thing.
Sure.
Target embedded and took away the goal. They didn't walk away from DEI. They trained it. Right? And so for me, as a practitioner, again, this ain't Scrabble if you want to know more. But my point is this. I think we get caught up in the mechanics, like the letters of DEI.
Right.
Now you want to be belonging. The work is still the same, right? And so I think we allow ourselves to be distracted in the things that are easy to argue about.
It's not
because
the letters,
the work is harder.
It's the goal. It's the mission.
It's the goal and the expectation that if you do the goal well, you don't need the goal for that anymore.
Speaking of goals and looks, you've issued the idea of the typical corporate look. You have your look. You have your look. Why did you decide this was the way you wanted to go? Because a lot of people would have said, "No, I've got to be the more traditional look."
Oh, I said that.
Yeah.
There's a picture on the internet of me in a beautiful silk press. Take that. But here's what happened. As I got into the DEI role, I became at a conflict. Like, I'm telling people to bring their authentic selves to work, and I'm over here wearing cardigans, and I hate them.
Yeah.
And I basically was like, I better wear what I want to wear, or they're going to fire me. That was the simplicity. So I started to evolve my style into what I looked like when I wasn't wearing cardigans. I burned my cardigans, too, by the way. That's in their Maple Grove Police Department. But anyway, I burned them, and here's why. Because at the end of the day, I was spending too much capacity worrying about if I had on the right thing. And every ounce I was spending there in corporate America was taking away from what I was supposed to do. But it doesn't mean I was confident, and it doesn't mean I wasn't afraid, and it doesn't mean I didn't think there were consequences. I decided they were all worth it. And to this day, my personal choices on style, which is my own little game, are the armor that keeps me anchored in all of the barrier-breaking places I have to be, because I'm still scared. I just got to go anyway. So if I'm cute and happy with what I have on, I fight better.
Like these stocking shoes.
We need to decide. This was a thing.
Is it a shoe?
Is it a shoe? Is it a stocking?
Where does it go?
Caroline,
Vote America.
The book, I'm highly % sure, is available right now.
Al started it.
What's coming up, Al?
Coming up, I
gotta go call my mom.
We got some smart upgrades around the house. Hey, thanks for watching. And don't forget, you can catch the Today Show every morning on NBC or take Today when you're on the go. Just follow the Today podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen.